just doing my thing, doing my thing. Oh, you keep hanging. I'm just doing my thing. Oh, you keep hanging.
So I give you solutions, not just here's the problem, but I give you solutions.
I'm just doing my 6 in the morning, yeah, I'm on my dough.
And that's why I wrote the book. It took me, it's about 37 to 40 years of research.
Now I'm flourishing, life's an excursion. If you get it,
When you isolate a vitamin from its whole food form, it becomes nothing more than an isolated chemical, and your body actually has to work harder to break it down to its molecular structure.
Feeling so good, so good. And I'm feeling so good.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Get Healthy the Wynters Way. I am so excited to be here today to start my show. This has been a long time dream of mine, to be able to have a vehicle to get the information out, to share it with you, for you to understand, for you to get your power, for you to know what is going on this planet. You know, I wrote the book, The Pure Cure, A Complete Guide to Freeing Your Life from Dangerous Toxins. And when I wrote that, it was a vision that I would have my own show, to be able to bring in experts from all over the country to talk about the different chapters and what we can do about some of these problems that are going on our earth today. And so here I am, and I'm here to give you some great information as the weeks go by. I thought I'd take a moment and give you a little bit of history about who I am, how I came to this. And so I came out to California when I was in my late teens and early 20s. I was a beauty contest winner. I was Miss Pennsylvania in the Miss World contest, toured the United States, met Ole Cassini when I was 18 years old and modeled for him in New York. And then, as fate would have it, I met a girl who said, you should come out to California and become an actress. She was an actress doing all those beach blanket bingo films. Her name was Bobby Shaw. And so I went, okay. And I came out, I drove out to California, and 2 weeks later, I found myself on the set of Batman as playing Catgirl to Julie Newmar's Catwoman. It was totally over my head. I had no idea about acting. I didn't know what I was doing. It was basically, for me, a disaster. And but out of that disaster, my life changed because I realized that there was a whole art to acting. And so I wanted to find out what that art was about. I began to study, and I studied for 12 years so that I would never be put into that position again. And I fell in love with the art of being aware of myself and how it relates. And I thought I was pretty conscious, but I wasn't conscious about my body. I had no concept about what I was putting in my body, what I was putting on my body, and what was around my body. I was all in my head and thought I was pretty aware until at 25 years of age, I found myself sitting at a doctor's office, being told the unthinkable, that I had cancer. And back in those days, I didn't know anybody that had cancer. Not like today, where 1 in 3 people will get some form of cancer in their lifetime. There were no support groups. I felt like I had leprosy. I told practically no one, maybe a few people. And I decided that what the medical profession wanted to do to me, I'd rather die as a whole human being. And it put me on this journey of a spiritual quest at the end of what I thought was my life. My disease became my teacher, and I believe there are no accidents and that everybody that touches your life touches it for a reason. I ran into a woman who had terminal cancer, who they opened and closed and gave her 6 months to live. And she told me about some dentist in Grapevine, Texas, who was curing cancer through nutrition. And my eyes rolled up. I went, right, the medical profession doesn't have an answer, but some dentist in Grapevine, Texas is curing cancer. And she said to me, what do you have to lose? And I've always been an instinctual person. So on November 22nd, I flew to Dallas, Texas. I think it was about 10 years after Kennedy was shot. And so there was a lot of commotion going on in Dallas. They were having parades and memorials for him. And I got into a cab and I drove to Grapevine, Texas. And I remember the cab driver saying, nobody goes to Grapevine. And he pulls up and I look out the window and there was Dr. Kelly's office next door to a funeral parlor. And I remember thinking, well, door number 1 doesn't work. I can always go door number 2. And it's funny now, but not at the time. And I went into Dr. Kelly's office, and I met him. He took me by the hand, and he put me on his dentist chair. And he looked into my mouth and started looking at my teeth. And I remember thinking to myself, that's not where my cancer is. Why is he looking in my teeth? And I go, oh, God, Sharyn, you've really picked it now. And he said to me, well, the first thing that you're going to have to do is remove all that mercury in your mouth. And I had no idea that what was in my mouth had any contribution to what was going on in my body. And for me, my mouth became like Alice in Wonderland. It was the way that I fell down this rabbit hole and a whole new world opened up to me. And I went home that evening with a box filled with a quadrillion supplements and a book about 3-4 inches thick on what I was going to do to change my life if I was going to live. And I started my journey. My journey started with my mouth. And so I thought today, as I begin my show, that your journey with me should start with your mouth. And I brought in a friend of mine, Dr. Lori Cardillino. She is a biological dentist, and we're going to explore your mouth. So I want to welcome you, Lori, to my first show. I'm so excited that you can be here opening up, because I really thought about, I have all these chapters, indoor air pollution, what to do about water, electromagnetic toxicity, in the kitchen, cleaning agents. And when I sat there and I go, where do I want to start my show? And it dawned on me, let's start where you started, Sharyn, in your mouth.
Yeah.
So let's start by saying, first of all, welcome to my show.
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate you inviting me here.
And for those viewers who don't know, what is a biological dentist?
The term biological dentist and holistic dentist and natural dentist is one of those terms within the profession that the dentist makes up because holistic and biological dentistry is really not a part of dentistry, because dentistry is not aware that the mercury in your teeth and the infection in your teeth need to be considered for your full body health. So for this conversation, we're going to keep biological dentists to the concept of mercury is the most non-radioactive element on Earth. It is the most toxic element on Earth. So we're going to say over and over again that a biological or holistic dentist, unbeknownst to dentistry and actually not accepted in dentistry, is the key that you cannot have in your mouth to be healthy. So
why is it not accepted?
That's what the next hour will be about. That's a rabbit hole in itself. But what I always like to do is just go back to the truth, go back to nature, go back to what people cannot be debating about.
Okay.
And the term biological or holistic we can keep in this conversation to anti-mercury, as far as we do not put it in, and we feel that when you remove it from a tooth, you have to do it a very specific way. And the concept of if you choose to do dentistry that is going to keep an infection in the mouth, that's not good for the full body. That's not good for the whole system. And that's where you get into the concept of the basics of medicine is do no harm. It's whatever you do, it can't make something worse. Dentistry tends to lean more towards no matter what, you save the tooth. And therein lies the true issue about biological dentistry.
Okay. So talk to me about mercury and what is mercury so people understand. It's called amalgams. It's called silver fillings. Mm-hmm. So anybody out there, if you have silver fillings or mercury, as it is what it really is, you need to listen to this.
So the concept of a silver filling actually is because it's colored silver and it looks silver. If you have anything in your mouth that's shiny metal inside a filling, it's mercury. It's over 50% mercury. The dental profession, you're taught that you have 50% mercury and 50% of an amalgamation of other metals. You shake them together, you condense it into the cavity, and once it's condensed into the cavity filling, then it's inert and it's bound. And that's where the science comes in. I vividly remember sitting in dental school that day. I have a chemistry major in college, and I remember sitting there remembering the periodic chart of the elements and remembering that mercury is the only liquid metal on this planet, knowing that it's never inert. It binds to things and moves around, but it's not inert. So if you have silver fillings in your mouth, they're mercury, 50% mercury, and it's not bound. It is absolutely mercury that is coming off of those silver fillings 24/7.
Are dentists still using mercury in fillings?
Not only are we still using it, but just on the situation of, because you and I are doing this radio show, I cannot lose my license for saying this part that I do. 50% of dentists still put mercury fillings in. Every dental school except for one still teaches mercury amalgams are the number one choice for filling cavities.
Isn't it banned in some countries?
It is banned in some countries. It's banned in some countries, but it's not banned here. We're far from that.
Good old United States.
Good old United States. So
and so let me understand this. So so you can get the dental insurance to pay for putting the mercury in. How about taking the mercury out? Will
No.
they pay for it?
That's the old don't ask, don't tell of the whole entire situation. If I see a patient that comes to me because I'm a holistic dentist or a biological dentist, and our agreement is I am removing that filling because it's mercury, you cannot bill that as a filling to dental insurance. You can only bill dental insurance for something that is broken or not clinically acceptable and you're replacing. And within the profession, mercury in a filling is not that.
So what you're saying is that in every aspect that we're really about disease care. We're not really about health care.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you something so people really understand. Why is mercury so toxic to the body?
The word toxic, I feel, is does the body have defense against it? If something comes into your body or into your field and the body has an ability to get rid of it or protect you from it, a virus, a bacteria, other toxins that the liver and kidney can get rid of, mercury, the body has absolutely no defense against. Mercury, because of the element that it is, when it is in the human body, it goes through every cell, it goes through the blood-brain barrier, and very importantly, it goes through the placenta. And any element or any toxin in the body that goes through the blood-brain barrier and the placenta is very toxic, because that's the definition of your body can't stop it from going where your body doesn't want it to go. So I feel that the reason it's the most toxic is because your body has absolutely no defense. Your immune system can't take mercury and make it go away. You can't cough it up and it goes away. Once it's in your body, it is in your body until the natural pathways in your liver system detoxes it out.
How do you do that?
Oh, that's another 5-hour show. Anything that I learned, and again, I went to dental school and sat and became a doctor in a profession that told me mercury was okay to put in the human body. So everything I've learned is after dental school. And
where did you learn all this? How did you go from being a straight dentist to being a holistic or a biological dentist? Now, let me ask you another question. Are all holistic dentists biological dentists?
It really depends on how you define biological and holistic. I know a lot of dentists that call themselves holistic for marketing purposes, and what they're actually saying is they just don't put mercury fillings in. So it's not a regulated thing.
There's no school that you can go to, like as a naturopath. I went to naturopathic school to learn my art.
No, it's actually quite the opposite of that, which is if you're a person who's on the internet and trying to figure out where's the best dentist to go to, and you could go to 5 holistic biological dentists, and all 5 of those dentists will disagree on how to treat you. That's the thing about being in a profession that you're against the foundation of what the profession is doing. So the governing body of that group of dentists it's really being formed as we speak. So that's why as a medical person, I just continued to research alternative. I researched and took classes on acupuncture and homeopathics and craniosacral and things out of the medical model to try to put it all together.
That's interesting. I took my life partner to Germany, and the first thing they did was send him to a biological dentist.
Yeah.
And dentists in Germany are very differently trained than dentists here.
Yeah, MDs too.
They're right.
MDs because they learned the energy world. Right. Homeopathics was begun there.
Right.
And the acupuncture meridian system, even though it was Asian and down in another part of the world, the German physicians really took to the idea that this is a full energy body and all of the parts have to be looked at it in a whole.
Right. So I know you brought a diagram of each tooth and what organ it represents. Yep.
We're going to jump right into that, huh? Okay. This is the punchline we're going to jump into. Dentistry. Well, I'm not even going to blame this one on dentistry. This is medicine. Our Western medicine does not understand or look at or really evaluate the full energy flow of the body, the acupuncture meridian system. So when I first learned about the idea that each tooth had an organ correlation, when you're the doctor that's supposed to take care of the teeth and you realize that there's an organ correlation, it changes everything. Because just the idea of, here's sort of how the idea of each tooth has its own organ that it relates to. So if I'm trying to figure out why somebody's upper back tooth hurts, and there's no crack in it, there's no cavity in it, they don't have any history, they just come in and say, man, my tooth hurts. And I don't know that upper back teeth have a correlation with stomach meridian and have a correlation with your spleen. There's more pieces of the puzzle that you're trying to put together. And that goes right along with the idea of the structure of it all.
You brought our friend,
I brought my friend. This is my friend that changed my life. I remember the first time I saw this at a class, and I was like, what's that? So the medical model says cranial bones do not move. And every other model on the planet says cranial bones move when you breathe in and out. So the structure of this and how it relates to this might have something to do with how you would evaluate and treat the system. So cranial bones moving and how the bite correlates to that and the acupuncture meridian system is really the part that holistic dentists, where those of us who go more alternative, not just the mercury issue, not just I don't put in mercury or I take out mercury differently, the ones that sort of get education in acupuncture, that's the biggest thing that you realize. There is a meridian system that rules the day, and the structure of cranial bones moving changes the entire system of how you were taught to diagnose the pain of a tooth.
Right. Right. So you have my favorite, which is we did a women's convention a couple weeks ago, and we just had a blast.
It was fun.
It was great. It was amazing to me how many people came up and had no idea. Because where I'm coming from, I think everybody knows about this because I've known about it for so long, and I'm always amazed that people still have mercury put in, and I still get a lot of, I talk to my dentist, and my dentist doesn't think there's anything wrong with it because he's been trained with the, is it ADA modality that this is what we put in.
Yeah.
And then you showed the smoking tooth.
Yeah.
Do we have that?
I think, can our fabulous tech guy bring up that? The idea of, in dental school, it literally is the first or, second or third week in dental school. You learn about this is how we fix teeth. We put, fill up the filling and press it down, and it becomes inert and it's stable and there's no more mercury in it. You don't really question it's 50% mercury, so if it all went away, wouldn't it be half the size? I can't really get into the psyche of all dentists, why that's the part that I got stuffed up on.
Lori,
so
I just get blown away by this. Explain what people are looking at
every time. This is what is happening in every person's mouth on any tooth every day, 24/7, of anybody that has a mercury filling. Mercury is absolutely a reactive metal.
Oh my God, look at that.
And the mercury vapor comes off of the mercury filling always. It never stops. The half-life of mercury is, I do believe, 50,000 years. Don't quote me on that, but it's for sure more than 100 years. So the vapors that you're seeing coming off of this tooth, this is an extracted tooth, and they show when you touch it with an eraser or if you raise the temperature, what happens when you drink hot coffee. It's absolutely the way it is. Mercury is a vapor that is always coming off of those amalgams. And then the question becomes...
And that's just one tooth.
That's just one.
So if you have a whole mouth filled...
And again, it comes down to even the World Health Organization. And this is the World Health Organization. They're going to give minimal stuff to protect the entire population with that little piece of they're only going to do it when they have to because it's a political organization. The World Health Organization has changed their stance on this. The ADA says it's a little bit of mercury. That's not very scientific, but even if we are going to say a little bit, the World Health Organization has changed their stance. 0 is the healthy limit of mercury in the human body. Mercury is completely toxic. It's not toxic past a limit. It's not toxic past an amount. It is toxic. So the smoking tooth video just simply shows it's absolutely coming off of those amalgam mercury fillings. So there's the answer. It's not 0. And nobody in the profession talks about it.
So you can understand how that's playing a role in your body. I mean, there's a whole school of thought that breast cancer has a lot to be linked with what's going on in your mouth, the mercury in the mouth. And there are many topics that I talk about in just my chapter on what's going on in your mouth, from root canals to whitening your teeth and all that. It's all chemicals. So you take this mercury out, and what are you replacing it with? Because that's a whole other...
It is a whole other show. I'm never the bearer of good news.
Well,
I'm the bearer of information.
You know what? It is good news because
it's information.
Because here's the deal. Knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you're listening to this and you're going, "Oh my God, I've got mercury," that's the gift. I look at everything that's going on in my life is a gift. So if you're just finding this out and you've got something going on physically with your body, you need to go get it checked. And we'll talk about in a minute, because when I got my mercury out, they just took it out.
Right.
Which created I didn't know about a holistic dentist or a biological dentist back in those days.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to take a break in a moment, and we'll be right back to hear more of the smoking tooth syndrome.
Okay.
I just have to let you go, girl. I know it's worth waiting for, but I just have to let you go. Not saying I don't love you, I do. All of us think, but you're thinking I'm through. But I swear that I changed, you wouldn't know, cause you treat me the same. And I be all over things, but to think that that's me. Life shifting right by easy. Need you to know that it's hard to let you go. Said it and I said it before. Needed you to see that it's hard to let you leave. Life shifting right by easy. Girl, it's not what you hope, cause I just have to let you go. Girl, I know it's worth waiting for, but I just have to let you go. Not saying I don't need you, I do, but all of the things that you're putting me through. So I swear that I'm gone, you keep tripping off the things that I've done, and you'll be.
We're just swinging here with the music, and I just have to say, the music that you're listening to is by Dylan Young, and he happens to be my son, and so I'm keeping it in the family. But his music is awesome, and I want everybody, when you have a chance, go to Son of Waves, SONOFWAVES, and he just released yesterday his first album. And it's awesome music, and he says that when, let me see if I can clean this up. When R&B and hip hop connected, his music is the offspring.
That's good.
That's a clean way of saying it. But anyway, it's Dylan Young. Anyway, so let's get back to it. It's hard because that music is just here. We're sitting in the studio, we're dancing, we're moving, we're grooving, kind of lightens up what's going on with.
Yeah.
So what do we replace this toxic substance that we're pulling out? By the way, I remember when I was a kid, and I used to love to break thermometers because there was mercury in it, and I would play with it and roll it and rub it around. You know, any reason why 25 years later I got cancer?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's the reason, but that's one of the contributory factors, I'm sure, that I had loaded with mercury in my body.
Well, it's just one of those interesting pieces that I always mention. Every grandmother will tell you not to play with the thermometer, and every dentist will tell you mercury's safe to put in your mouth. I mean, it's... So I want to get back to before the break when you asked, well, what do you fill teeth with? The white composite fillings are plastic, and you know how in the media these days we know not to drink a lot of water out of bottles because
I have a whole chapter on that.
BPA
BPAs.
plastics. Well, a lot of the plastics that are used in dentistry are BPA plastics.
Are you kidding me?
So I wish I was not kidding you. So when you go to your dentist and you're in the conversation of the two of you are in agreement that the mercury needs to be replaced, and you've checked on the internet what that mercury safe protocol is, and we have to get to that next. That's the most important part. You also have to say the word BPA. Do you use material that's non-BPA? BPA is the bisphenol A plastics that we know are carcinogenic. So
Show number 14.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea is
pike.
a non-carcinogenic plastic is what we replace teeth with, kind of. So that's the goal.
That's awesome.
Non-BPA filling material. Once you, that's the general answer. Once you become a holistic dentist and you really understand the light being, everything has to flow, the body knows when anything in it is not the body. So the whole concept is you really need to be tested for any material that you put in your body. So a lot of biological holistic dentists, we do blood test called the Clifford test, which is an autoimmune response to what of the materials that we use does your body not react to.
Right. So I just had a thought. So you've got this BPA plastic in your mouth, and you're drinking something hot, which BPAs react to. They also react to the cold. I go to the gym and I see, well, that's a whole other thing. I see people drinking water bottles that they put into their freezer so they can have ice water in BPA plastic. And I got to just bite my tongue because it's like not my business. But it is my business. It's my business to get this information out, which is why I wrote my book, The Pure Cure.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's do if you decide that mercury, if you look at the smoking tooth video and you decide that mercury is just vaporizing coming off, the amount of vapor that comes off when you actually drill it with a dental drill is 5,000 times more. It's a lot of mercury because you're pulverizing the actual amalgam itself. So for the past 30 years, I got out of school in 1992, and I thought everybody was doing it this way when I was in dental school, just got out of dental school. So the concept is if you're going to work on a tooth, you have to isolate just that tooth. So you have to have what's called a rubber dam. The tooth that is being drilled is the only tooth, so that as you're drilling it, the stuff that you're drilling, the mercury and the pieces, can't go into the mouth. The mouth absorbs everything, and you're breathing it. So what is
and
called...
the dentist is breathing it.
Yes. Highest suicide rate. Have you ever met a really nice older dentist? I mean, it's a neurotoxin, and that's the piece of this.
Right. Dentists have the highest suicide rate because it hits the brain.
And the highest, the earliest retirement. A lot of people think it's because they start making money and they hire an associate. It's because if you have the shakes and you can't see because of neurotoxins, Again, another piece. So let's stay with what not me. These are my predecessors. This has been around for probably 30 years. This is called mercury safe removal protocol. And the concept is the patient has to have a rubber dam on because the rubber dam stops the amalgam from going into the mouth because that's where all the absorption happens. The other piece is it can't be just a regular latex rubber dam because mercury goes through latex. Mercury, again, goes anywhere it wants. Mercury does not go through nitrile, so holistic dentists use nitrile rubber dam. You've got to have a little bit of suction going on underneath the dam just in case anything goes under there. You have to have oxygen up the nose so that the patient is breathing forced oxygen, so the mercury vapors aren't being breathed. You have to have a very big suction thing. We call this Mr. Snuffleupagus. It's a large suction so that the amount of mercury vapors that we're putting into the air is being, pulled away from the dental assistant, the dentist, and the patient. Then the other really important part is the dental assistant and the dentist have to wear a mercury vapor mask. These vapor masks are only in the profession of... this reminds me of my first slide when I speak to dentists. My first slide says, the only place on the planet Earth mercury is not considered a toxic waste is in the human mouth. Because...
That is so powerful.
So powerful.
That is an incredible statement.
Anytime you have mercury anywhere, you have to wear this mask. If you work in a light bulb factory and you have a spill, if you are called in because you work in hazmat, this is what you wear.
And the new light bulbs that they're making contain mercury.
Way, way, way less than one filling in a person's mouth. So even when a light bulb gets broken, especially in like a public school or something like that, this is what the hazmat guys wear.
To clean it
up. So it seems so, when dentists see this, they're like, oh, and that's just ridiculous. That's too much. But it's the only mask on the market that keeps the person from breathing mercury. They don't make them for dentistry. They certainly could redesign it. So back to the safety, the room itself has to be, we're drilling mercury in it all day. So the room itself has to have a mercury vapor ionizer in it to pull the mercury out. And the technique of drilling it, you don't pulverize it. You can't drill it and turn it into a liquid. You try to drill it out in chunks. So you drill the mercury as little as possible, because when you drill it, you're vaporizing it, and you put the mercury into the environment and into the area where everybody can reabsorb it, and it's toxic. And just another little thing that I don't know if I'm the only one that notices stuff, but look at this. That's the dental assistant, right? So aren't employees supposed to be protected by OSHA when they work in a horrifically toxic environment? Dental assistants are not protected from mercury. They sit and breathe mercury all day. My dental assistant, there's often where I work in other offices and I have to use the other dental assistants, and I insist they wear the mask. And they think, they're like, oh, she's a crazy dentist. It's like,
I've seen some clients over the years that worked in dentist's office, totally environmental sensitivity they've
toxic.
developed because of that.
yeah, there's no such thing as an old dental
they
assistant.
They haven't put the link together
Yeah.
that's what it's from.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the situation we're in. I am a famous dentist that people fly in to see because I do that mercury safe protocol.
Let's give everybody your website. And how can they get a hold of you, by the way?
DrLoriCardillino.com links to my VenturaHolisticDentistry.com, and I also have Santa Monica HolisticDentistry.com. I currently work in those two cities. So
Spell that, please, doctor.
you can just do the VenturaHolisticDentistry.com. They're both the same sites. They go, it depends on where you are. But I really want to stress an important point. I'm not the public figure. I do not want to be the poster child for this whole thing. The important part, I really think, is educating yourself.
Yeah.
And when you go back to your dentist, you can tell your dentist to check out my website. You can learn this stuff as a dentist in a day. You can go and take a class on mercury safe removal. So my website is very important for anybody listening, just to understand that this is the bare bones smoking tooth video, acupuncture meridian chart. This all has to be looked at if you want to be healthy. But more importantly, begin the dialogue with your dentist. My thing is, this is a dentist education issue.
Right.
Because the patient is always going to go in and believe the doctor in the white coat. That is our culture.
Well, I think people now are becoming much more conscious and taking much more responsibility for their health and for their lives than they did years ago.
Yeah.
And that's partly why I wrote the book, The Pure Cure, and I'll hold it up, A Complete Guide to Freeing Your Life from Dangerous Toxins, is because I want you to understand what's going on, and I give you solutions in here. So that's my book, The Pure Cure. You can go onto my website, which is wintersway.com, WYNTERSWAY.com, and it's a great holiday gift to give yourself and to give to somebody you love. It's a great thing. So
a great book.
I have a couple of questions. Well, there's a lot of questions I want to ask you, and there's so many. I have on my chapter about the mouth, there's a lot more than I cover, other than mercury. But this is a whole show in itself. My question to you is there any kind of regulation going on about mercury?
It is truly one of the most amazing parts of this. Get a load of this. What I feel is probably not the highest number. 50%, one half of all the mercury that is in the environment comes from the dental profession. We are the only unregulated mercury industry. We are a mercury industry. We have, I think the statistic is 7 tons of mercury is in the human population. We are a huge consumer of mercury as an industry. All the other mercury industries are regulated. If you are a light bulb factory, if you are a coal factory, they absolutely regulate whether or not you pump mercury out. Dental offices are not regulated. You go in to have your one filling fixed because it broke. You're not there to get mercury removal. You just broke an old silver filling. And as they're drilling that and slurping it out, it is going out into the public water supply. And the municipalities, local municipalities, do not take out mercury. They separate solid from the liquid, and the waste, the solid waste, is fertilizer. The mercury in fish, the mercury in plants. I really think that dentistry might have something to do with that 100-year history. So we are not regulated.
So it's going into our water supply. So not only are we drinking everybody else's medications that they can't get out of our water. Well, I went over to a friend's house, and he actually was drinking tap water, and I went, "You're not drinking tap water, are you?" He went, "Yeah, it's perfectly safe. It's Calabasas water." And I just, it's okay. I'll pass.
Now, I'm not saying there's mercury in tap water. I'm not sure about that one. I'm saying on the other end, when when the water leaves the dental office, it absolutely has mercury in it because we're slurping it out of the teeth.
And where does that go?
Yeah.
Where does that go?
Right onto the ocean.
Does that go?
So the ADA has, the American Dental Association has best practice management. So you're supposed to, and it's recommended, to have a mercury separator. It's a maybe $1,000 canister system that pulls the mercury out before it goes to the public water supply. Nobody knows this statistic. Because I'm in this and I speak to the companies that make mercury separators, I would guess less than 1% of dentists have a mercury separator. I bet you the ADA may say 10. I guarantee nobody is going to say 100. 100% of all dentists should have a mercury separator in their office. 50% of the environmental mercury would not be there tomorrow if the dentist called the company, ordered the separator, and had one installed. That's my work.
But it's not a have to.
It's not a have to. It's not a have to because mercury is not toxic. Mercury in dentistry is not mercury that everybody else is talking about. Our mercury is different than all the rest. If the dentist calls up to get the mercury separator, why would they be doing that? Because the mercury they use is not toxic. It's different mercury. It is truly at the root of this issue. This is an emotional...
So where's this all coming from? The ADA is still teaching a certain protocol to all dentists.
Well, remember, the ADA is a membership professional association. We all take our continuing ed through the ADA, but the teachings come from dental schools.
Right.
And dental school, it's like any other school. They are teaching not new stuff. But the ADA is in a very odd way, the ADA is the authority or the governing body in the public eye. They have marketed themselves with the ADA seal of approval. The public believes that the ADA is looking out for their best interest for their teeth. The ADA is a self-governed group of dentists. It is a professional membership. It has nothing to do with the government, and it in no way is looking to protect the population. It is just dentist membership group. And once you understand that, you're like, oh, okay, well, then I'm not going to ask that group to protect me because it's a dentist professional association.
But they don't care that you're using other products other than mercury to fill people's teeth with. Do they?
Right. Right. Because, again, the foundation of it...
There's no regulation to saying that you have to use this protocol.
No. No, dentistry is you become a dentist, and however you treat the patient is completely up to you. It's dentistry is a medical profession, and you only answer to standard of care and the legal ramifications of standard of care. It is absolutely not standard of care to remove a filling because it has mercury in it. I practice out of standard of care every day.
How many countries do you know of that are not using mercury?
I think we're up to 8.
That's all?
Yeah. It's the Scandinavian countries.
Scandinavian countries, which has the highest suicide rate also.
Right.
Maybe they figured that one out.
Right. Yeah, it's. I feel that it's going to go, and it is going. There's a very, very important thing that happened in this entire game, and it's the name of the organization, Consumers for Dental Health. The lawyer is Charlie Brown. His website is toxicteeth.org. And what Charlie Brown he's changed the game. He has the United Nations Environmental Plan, the UN, 5 years ago, they came up with they're going to write a World Mercury Treaty. If you're in the UN, you must go by the World Mercury Treaty. 5 years ago, it excluded dental amalgam. And Charlie Brown is the lawyer that's been in this fight for his entire career. He's the lawyer that if you lose your license because the state board takes your license, Charlie Brown and you countersue the state board, and that's why dentists like me can do shows like this. The United Nations Environmental Protection 1 month ago, states that they're calling for a phase down of dental amalgam in the world. This is not an American issue anymore. America invented dentistry. We started dentistry. And you used to, when the first 10 years of people becoming a dentist, to go to University of Maryland and call themselves a doctor, you had to take an oath to not use mercury. And then right about that time, people started, other people were doing dentistry and doing other things. And what's now known as the ADA was formed for the pro-amalgam, and you can use mercury. So you used to have to take an oath to not use it, and then within 10 years of the profession, to use it. So all of that history is now a world environmental issue, and that's how this is going to go. This is going to go world environment. Everybody agrees mercury is a toxin. It's a pollutant that needs to be controlled. So a dentist just has to do this for environmental reasons. While everybody's still talking about whether or not the mercury fillings can make you sick, environmental protection, you have to use that protocol because you can't just drill it. You have to contain it, put it into things, recycle it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something. What do you see as the most important changes that need to happen?
Dentist education. It really is. If you're a dentist and you see the smoking tooth video, you either have to say it is trick photography, or you have to say everything that you've known about this issue was not what you thought it was. And it is a very monumental time in a dentist's life. And the smoking tooth video is YouTube. The internet has changed this dialogue.
Isn't that great?
That's how I learned. I graduated in 92, right before the internet. I do what I do because I had the internet to do research. So the number one thing this is a dentist.
I remember when I saw that, I put it on my Facebook page. Oh, by the way, my Facebook page is Wynters Way, WYNTERSWAY. Please like my Facebook page because I send out all kinds of good information. Mm-hmm. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah,
Lori. And you know what else is interesting to me is that now you're going to find a holistic dentist or biological dentist, and most of them out there charge enormous amounts of money to get the mercury out of their mouth. And I mean, I've heard incredible, ridiculous fees to take the mercury out of the mouth. And when I heard what you charged, I went, well, that's just what a normal dentist would charge.
Yeah, because if you look at what this costs, I keep going to this because it's so big. What does this cost? Maybe $1,500 because I already have the oxygen. I already have a rubber dam. I have to buy the big vacuum. They're $700. I have to put a mercury separator in my office. Maybe $1,500. Why is it more expensive? It's not. I can't. The material that you use.
There's some outrageous prices going on out there with holistic dentists. I mean, I've heard some, $1,000 to take out
for a filling.
For a filling.
That's very common.
Isn't that? And more. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah. And that's the part.
And it's not covered by insurance.
Right. That's the part where I truly believe you do the filling correctly with the best materials for the price that fillings are now being done. There's an entire industry that does fillings for a fee, and that industry, there's very few poor dentists. They're getting paid, the top echelon in our income bracket in America are dentists. So what they're doing right now, they're getting paid high dollar for. I don't think that the way this should go is those dentists who do use mercury safety charge 4 to 5 to 10 times more for just a filling. It takes the same amount of time.
Right.
In a lot of ways, when you become a holistic dentist, because you're actually working on people that want multiple teeth done in one sitting, they have 3 teeth on their lower left. They don't want to come 3 times. They don't want to be exposed to the mercury. They want to get it done. Right. You're doing 3 fillings, so you're being more productive. That goes back to how I can train the dentist. Once you respect the mercury, you're not just doing it because you think that, it's a niche market. You actually believe that the mercury is not healthy for the patient, for you, for the assistant, for the planet. You start looking at your patients differently, and you become more productive because you're doing the good work. And you can absolutely do this work for the same amount of money of what a filling costs. Insurance issue is a different issue because insurance is not there to protect you and make you healthy and make you have good teeth. It's an investment thing in this country. So dental insurance has not done this issue any favors. But still, $200 to $300 for a very good filling, not $1,000 to $2,000.
I understand.
Is what a filling should cost.
And that's why a lot
costs.
of people don't want to get their mercury fillings out because it's outrageous in price.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for that, Lori. You're doing amazing work.
Thanks.
When I sat with you a couple of weeks ago, I went, you're the person that I wanted to start the show. We only have a few minutes left, and I wanted to. We've covered mercury, which is just one little bit in my book under toxic teeth.
Right.
We haven't even gotten into root canal work, which is a pretty interesting topic. But what else does it mean to you to be a holistic dentist?
It really goes along the same conversation about root canals. Whether or not the root canal procedure itself, right, is it controversial? The concept of when a dentist chooses to do a root canal, if you understand the meridian system and you understand all of the other factors that cause a patient to come in and say, ouch, then you're not doing the dentistry that you were taught to do because there's more pieces of the puzzle. You're trying to build the story. And holistic dentistry is all about just understanding. Number one, everything in the body is connected. Every cell is connected to the next cell. Right. And number two, anything that you do in dentistry is permanently 24/7 in that person's body every day for the rest of their life, every night. There are very few medical procedures that's the case. So you do minimal dentistry. You drill teeth only when you have to. You don't do procedures just to see if you can save the tooth. If it's an infection, you know the body is saying tooth out. If it's a hole in the tooth, you don't fill it with the third most toxic element on the planet. It's that concept of you have to look at the teeth being a part of the body. And it's not just a part of the body, it's in the head. It's a very, very important piece that the entire medical establishment does not look at.
You know what I want to ask you is that suppose somebody has a mouthful of mercury in their mouth. Is there a procedure of which ones you take out first, looking at the meridians? Do you make a decision, or do you just randomly say, okay, I'll take out this one first?
There is absolutely a sequence. When the patient is ready, that's what makes this. I've been doing this for 20 years. That's what makes a holistic dentist with experience that have seen hundreds and hundreds of patients. But my answer to that question is always the answer that I give to everybody, no matter what the dental question. Every patient is different. Right. Every body is different. Every moment in your life, depending on where you are health-wise, is different. So that piece is why a lot of holistic dentists, that's how they validate that high fee. Well, I had all of this extra education and I learned. In general, average, healthy person, get them out as little exposure as possible, little amount. But if you're not healthy, it is very, very, you have to look at it very. I've got 3,000 hours of continuing education in different professions to work on the very sick people now getting it done because they're sick.
And when they get it out, they still have the mercury, the residual effect from the mercury that they've had all those years in their bodies.
Yes,
so.
I'm glad you asked that. This is a great way to wrap up for me. My Mercola, Mercola, Mercola.com, is a DO, Joe Mercola. He is one of my mentors on his website is who I consider to be the best detox guy, Chris Shade. And the reason that I love Chris Shade is because the only thing, he has a PhD in mercury. He got sick from getting his mercury fillings out, and he spent his entire adult life trying to allow the body to take out the mercury the way the natural pathways do it. That being said, even if it takes 2 to 3 years because you're severely mercury toxic because you've had the fillings, we still need a daily detox, keep healthy kind of a situation.
Right.
And that's where there are good teas. I think that, that whole part that's one of the things that brings you and I together is my work is you're going to have dentistry. You already have it. But you have to do nutritional stuff to keep your body
So
healthy.
there's a whole detox protocol that's on my website with the teas that we use to help get that out. If anybody wants to just go to my website and write me, and I'll tell you what to get on that aspect of it.
Yep, that the daily maintenance is key. Because you get mercury, there's tons of people that have mercury toxicity and they don't have amalgam fillings.
Right.
You're getting mercury from a lot of places.
From fish. We're getting a lot of things. We're getting a lot of things, which is the whole point of my book.
Yeah, it is, truly.
Is to get you educated and to bring back your power that we don't even know that we've lost. Well, Lori, is there anything you want to say at the end of this?
Just a real thank you to you. I mean, you have been my mentor. You have taught me things. We joke about a couple weeks ago, working with you or being with you during that. I learned so much about the nutrition part and the detox part. Your work is amazing.
Thank you.
I've read your book. I recommend it to everybody. The dental is, yes, you have to do this, but we live in such a toxic world. Your book is just quick, succinct answers to how do you survive in this toxic world. So just follow up. My follow-up is thank you. It's really good work, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you, and I'm so blessed to be able to have this time with you all to be able to get this information out and empower you and spread the word. This will be on tape so that you'll be able to see it and send it to people and share it. And let's bring our power back. Again, my website is www.wintersway.com, WYNTERS. My book is called The Pure Cure. I'll hold it up again. The Pure Cure, a complete guide to freeing your life from dangerous toxins. Please get this book. Knowledge is power. And Christmas is coming up. The holidays are coming up. Give the gift of health to somebody. This is Sharyn Wynters. Get Healthy the Wynters Way and the Pure Cure. I've got some great guests coming next week. And to your health. Namaste.
I'm just doing my thing. Oh, you keep hanging. I'm just doing my thing. Oh, you keep hanging.
So I give you solutions, not just here's the problem, but I give you solutions.
I'm just doing my 6 in the morning, yeah, I'm on my dough.
And that's why I wrote the book. It's about 37 to 40 years of research.
Now I'm flourishing, life's an excursion. If you get it.
When you isolate a vitamin from its whole food form, it becomes nothing more than an isolated chemical, and your body actually has to work harder to break it down to its molecular structure.
Feeling so good, so good.